Part 53. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 521. Your master is famous all over the world. Even if you don't participate in the competition, they will know that you are her disciple. Xianxia teased the child again. How can it be the same? If I get the first place, they will say that he is the disciple of the miracle doctor Yu Xianluo. Qihao imitated the tone of an adult and said. Xian said deliberately, I don't hear any difference either. Qihao rolled his eyes at him again. The difference is huge, the tone is different, didn't you hear it? He repeated it again. Xian naturally heard the difference, but he was just teasing him. What this kid means is that he won the first place in the competition. Although the words are the same, the tone is to praise him. He has lived up to the master's teachings and has become the master's pride. It means different from saying that he is the master's disciple now. Yes, people nowadays would be jealous of his good luck. Okay, we're all watching. Xian put pressure on him. Miss Yu is too spoiled to this young apprentice. Without any pressure, he will be spoiled. Just wait and see, Qihao said confidently. Even though I said this, I still felt pressure in my heart. I felt that I was a little too arrogant. I secretly glanced at my master and saw that he was not displeased. I felt relieved. However, I warned myself in my heart that I meant what I said. Okay, your promise will come true. Yan Xianluo looked at Qihao's back and realized that his clothes and pants were a little short. Although it was not obvious, it was still noticeable. Thinking that it has been more than a month since they came out. It is normal for Qihao to grow taller at his age. Yan Xianluo immediately looked to see if there was a ready-made clothing shop on the street. It was impossible to make clothes outside, so she would sell ready-made clothes. Go back and ask someone to make him more clothes that fit him well. She actually saw a family, stopped the two people walking in front, and took the lead into the clothing store. Xian and Qihao followed them in, and saw Yan Xianluo looking at boys' ready-made clothes, choosing a few sets, and asking Qihao which one he liked. Qihao then realized that the master was buying clothes for him. He looked at his clothes and it was indeed a bit short. He didn't say anything, but he didn't expect the master to find out and felt warm in his heart. He was not polite to his master and picked out a piece of clothing of a style and color that he liked. Yan Xianluo looked at the colors and styles he picked, asked the boss to get a few more similar sets, and sold 6 sets of clothes to Qihao. Qihao was flattered and said, Master, 2 sets are enough. Change. Yan Xianluo knew that Qihao didn't want to spend too much money. Yan Xianluo asked Qihao to go in and change into the clothes he chose. Qihao pursed his lips and went in to change with the clothes in his arms. He was extremely touched. His master was as kind to him as his mother. Xian watched Yan Xianluo patiently choose clothes for Qihao. Even though she was only 16 years old, she took good care of her little apprentice. She exuded the light of motherhood and was extremely gentle. Xian's eyes flashed. If she bought her master a set of clothes, his master would be even happier. But he looked at the ready-made clothes in the shop and thought, forget it, let's not talk too much. These clothes are not suitable for the master, and the master is very picky. The master's clothes are all tailor-made by tailors with excellent craftsmanship, and the materials are not ordinary. How did he know that at this time, Jizhokong would treat Jizhozhong as a treasure even if Yan Xianluo sold him clothes made of the most ordinary fabrics? Xian still didn't understand the thoughts of a man in love, so he missed an opportunity to please his master. Qihao changed his clothes and came out. Seeing that the size was right, Yan Xianluo paid the crystal coins and asked Qihao to put away the clothes for sale and asked him if his shoes were too small. Qihao nodded, it's a bit small. Actually, he had thought of finding a chance to buy a pair of shoes in Yaoguang City before. Shorter clothes would be fine, but the shoes were too small and cramped his feet. Yan Xianluo asked the boss to find shoes suitable for Chi Hao's size. He also sold 6 pairs. The children's shoes cost more, and the men paid more, so he bought a few more pairs for preparation. Having sold 6 sets of clothes before, Chi Hao was not surprised that his master sold him 6 pairs of shoes at once. He just put on a new pair of shoes. The clothes and shoes fit him, and he seemed to have grown up. Yan Xianluo looked at her little apprentice with the eyes of an old mother looking at her son. Chi Hao is 9 years old this year. The boy said he grows very fast, and she feeds her well. It is estimated that he will be as tall as her in a year or two. It's still the time when the little apprentice is a child. Just wear it first, and let someone tailor something more suitable for you when you go back, Yu Xianluo said. Chi Hao immediately said, Master, these are already very good, there is no need to do more. He didn't expect that the clothes and shoes that master bought him were just for make ends meet. He thought it was very good. Even at home, he didn't have the luxury to buy so many new clothes at once. Yan Xianluo smiled and said, the ones bought from outside are not as comfortable as the ones made by one's own family. Chi Hao stopped talking, but remembered in his heart how good his master was to him, and he would be filial to his master in the future. The more people walked, the more people there were. Wan Xianluo really didn't expect that there were so many people in Yaoguang City. Although she knows that there are many people coming to participate in the competition and watching, there is really no need to wander around the streets. The competition has not started yet. Xian saw her frowning at the people coming and going, and knew that she disliked too many people, so he explained, the competition will start in 3 days. From today on, all the people who signed up to participate will go to confirm their names when we arrive, we will participate on time. Those who have not decided before the competition will be automatically given up. Therefore, there are many people on the street today. Yan Xiang understood, have you confirmed it? She knew that not only Xuanhuan was participating, but Xian and many others were also participating. Although Xuanhuan didn't say the reason, he must have some calculation in his arrangement. Xian said, well, we just arrived when Xiaohao sent the message, so I made sure to come to pick you up. I guess Master and the others are done now. After finishing his words, he added, the people who signed up have different cultivation levels and go to different places to confirm. The Master and we are not in the same place to confirm. This is also a disguised explanation for why Xuanhuan didn't come to pick her up, to avoid her misunderstanding. With the previous heart-to-heart talk with Xuanhuan, Yan Xianluo felt much more relaxed and didn't care about it. Knowing that they would be busy, I originally thought that Chi Hao would ask for the address and they could go there themselves, but I didn't expect that Xian would come to pick them up. Just walk 1 street further and we'll be there. We live not far from the competition venue. Xian pointed to the street in front of him. The competition is being held in the city, Yan Xianluo asked curiously. For such a big competition or a cultivation competition, is there such a big venue in the city? As far as she understood, the previous competition venues were all built outside the city where they were held. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 522. Xian explained, yes, it will be held in the city. This is why the northern continent is so big, but Yaoguang City was chosen to host the continental competition. Because Yaoguang City is famous for animal taming, and the animal taming family is it is also a famous city for buying and selling spirit beasts, so there is a spirit beast trading place in the city. This place is very large, and there is also a large coliseum inside. Now the entire trading place is owned by the city owner of Yaoguang City in accordance with the rules of the northern continent. It was converted into a competition venue at the Lord's request. Yan Xianluo's mouth twitched, which meant that the place that used to be a place for fighting beasts was now a place for fighting people. Why does it feel weird? However, she was very interested in selling spiritual beasts. She had not paid attention to the information about Yaoguang City before, so she realized that Yaoguang City was actually a city for taming beasts. Spiritual beasts are sold here. Well, the most famous one is the Xianxia family, the strongest beast-taming family in the entire continent. Almost all high-level spiritual beasts are tamed by their Xianxia family. Xian has been here for a few days and has already given Yaoguang City to ask clearly. Xianxia family? Yan Xiangluo was stunned. It couldn't be the Xianxia family they met when they first came out of the snowfield, right? She clearly remembered that of the Xianxia family, that woman's arrogant tone and appearance. She really hated the surname in her 2 lifetimes. For a slave to be so arrogant, it shows what the master of the Xianxia family is like. Because of the competition, many people came to Yaoguang City, and their business is much better than before. Those who hold spiritual beasts in their arms on the street, almost all the spiritual beasts are sold here. Xian continued. Yan Xiangluo has long discovered that there are many people walking on the street holding spiritual beasts in their arms. Most of them are women, and feelings are sold here. What levels of spiritual beasts are there? Yan Xiangluo asked. Xian said, there are low-level, mid-level, and high-level ones. The higher the level, the more expensive it is. There are more low-level and mid-level ones. The high-level spiritual beasts need to be looked at and selected separately, and they must be confirmed before I can take you there. Look. The ones displayed in the store are all low-end. As for the super ones, they are not easy to find and are not easy to tame. If they are available, they are usually auctioned and the highest bidder gets them. They are not affordable for ordinary people. As they were talking, they happened to pass by a spirit beast shop with the word Xianxia on the plaque. It should be the shop where the Xianxia family sells spirit beasts. Passing through the door, Yan Xiangluo saw many spiritual beasts in cages inside. It is true that they are all low level, with only 1 or 2 intermediate ones. These 2 should be placed here to support the show. Obviously, high-level spiritual beasts will not be sold in front of the shop. Xian said, low-level spirit beasts are very good-looking, and they are usually sold by women from big families to keep as pets to relieve their boredom. Intermediate and high-level spirit beasts are contracted for use in combat, and the price is very expensive. If you can advance, if you become a battle pet, you will make a profit. After all, having a powerful battle pet is a great help in battle. Yan Xiangluo thought of her spiritual pet Xuanhuan. It said that it was a divine beast. Until now, she had not figured out whether it was a divine beast or what kind of divine beast it was. She has been in the higher continent for such a long time. Xuanhuan has been practicing on the space stone milk all day long, but she has not seen any improvement in it. It still looks like a spiritual pet. It is much cuter than these spiritual pets. Xian observed for a while and saw that Yan Xiangluo was very concerned about spiritual beasts. Could it be that he wanted to buy one as a pet? But doesn't she have a spiritual pet? She is very cute, big as a palm, and as white as snow. She is much prettier than those spiritual pets. Maybe she wanted to change the type. After thinking about it, she asked, Miss Yu, do you want a special spiritual pet? Yan Xiangluo immediately shook her head and glanced at Xuanhuan, who immediately came out to show her presence when she was discussing spiritual pets with Xian, and rubbed his soft body with a smile. I have Xuanhuan, I don't need other spiritual pets. Xuanhuan's tense body suddenly softened, and his voice sounded in Yan Xiangluo's consciousness, well, it's fine if the master has me, and I can be a spiritual pet, and I can also be a battle pet in the future. Yan Xiangluo twitched the corner of her mouth, you are such a pet with such a small body. She never thought that that day would come, but she still catered to him. Yes, Xuanhuan is so powerful. While communicating with the clouds, a thin vine that covered the sky like a hairpin slipped to her ear, there is still me. Yan Xiangluo was helpless, and they were still fighting for favor. You said that one of you, a divine beast and a divine plant, are not from the same race at all. Why are you fighting for favor? But he still wanted to pamper his own spiritual pet, and immediately coaxed, with you two, I don't need other spiritual pets. In my heart, I said sorry to Bai Tuanzi Wushuan in the space and Black Tuanzi who was still absorbing the power in the space. You two are not spiritual pets, you are spiritual beings. Music Xian glanced at the cloud of spiritual pets that suddenly appeared in Yan Xiangluo's arms, and then looked at the spiritual pets held in the arms of pedestrians on the road. Even he felt that those spiritual pets were simply incomparable to the clouds. They were just a kind of it felt like, although he had never seen how powerful Yun Tuan was, he somehow felt that Yun Tuan was different from those spiritual pets. Therefore, he believed that Yan Xiangluo was sincere when he said that he did not need other spiritual pets. The venues have been changed into competition venues. What will happen to the trading of spiritual beasts and fighting beasts in the future? Yan Xiangluo asked. Music Xian said, although it has been changed into a venue, we can still sell spiritual beasts and fighting beasts in the future, which is more suitable than before. Yan Xiangluo understood, that is to say, he took this opportunity to renovate the place where spiritual beasts are bought and sold. It's a pity that we can't see fighting beasts anymore. Yan Xiangluo is very interested in fighting beasts. She has never seen what it's like to fight with spiritual beasts. Music Xian smiled and said, don't feel sorry for me, girl. This competition will be very enjoyable for you. Yan Xiangluo's eyes lit up, does the competition allow battle pets to fight together? Combat pets are also part of the strength, so naturally they are allowed. Music Xian said naturally. Then do you have any battle pets? Yan Xiangluo asked. As far as she knew, Ji Zhozhong only had one spiritual pet and no other battle pets. She didn't know if Music Xian and the others had any battle pets. None of us have battle pets, Music Xian said. There was no disappointment or worry in his tone. Yan Xiangluo asked curiously, didn't you suffer a lot during the competition? Music Xian understood what Yu Xiangluo meant and explained, although they have battle pets to help, they won't use them unless they have to. Even if they use them, they seem to have an extra assistant, but if the spiritual pet is used, execution will do a lot of damage to them, and they may not be able to participate in the next competition. Therefore, it is a good thing to have a battle pet. Besides, the strength of those who can enter the top 100 is above the holy level, unless they are fighting. The pet must be at the highest level, otherwise it will not be a deterrent to the opponent. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 523. Chapter 523. The City Lord's Daughter. Yan Xiangluo understood, that is to say, if your battle pet is not of high enough level, it will be useless to call it out. If it is killed, the owner will be injured because of the contract relationship. This kind of injury is an injury to the consciousness. It not only affects the cultivation strength, but also affects a person's talent. Hence, battle pets cannot be used just when you want, it also depends on the situation. In this case, Yan Xiangluo is not that interested in fighting with battle pets. This section of the road is the busiest section of the main street of Yaoguang City, and there are 4 or 5 Ximen family shops selling spirit beasts on the road. Yan Xiangluo didn't want to go in and take a look, but that didn't mean that others didn't. There were many people looking at the spirit beasts in every shop, and there were quite a few people buying them. After all, it's not easy to travel so far away, and it's not worth it to buy a pet. Therefore, low-level spiritual beasts sell extremely well, especially those that are good-looking and cute. There were too many people on the road. Yan Xiangluo was avoiding people to avoid being hit. He was walking head-to-head with a woman wearing a snow-white dress. Just as she was about to run away, the woman saw the woman in her arms. The clouds, eyes brightened, raised his hand to stop Yuan Xianglue. It was then that I realized that the woman holding her spiritual pet was wearing a fiery red dress. She looked young, but her appearance was so outstanding that even the words alluring the country and the city would not be enough to describe her beauty. Suddenly jealousy overtook reason. I had originally taken a fancy to Yan Xiangluo's spiritual pet, but now because I was jealous of her beauty, I was determined to get her spiritual pet. "Where did you buy your spiritual pet?" the woman asked in an arrogant tone. Yan Xiangluo raised her eyes and glanced at the person who stopped her. She was wearing a snow-white dress and silky hair. Although she was dressed in elegant white, her accessories were very luxurious. It could be seen that her family was very wealthy. From her domineering eyes and tone, it can be seen that she must have some status in the family. Xian frowned. He had seen this woman once before. She was bullying a woman in a domineering manner. At that time, they had just arrived. He came out to inquire about the news and ignored her. Now that she was being bullied, he would not tolerate it. Before Yan Xiangluo could respond, Xian raised his hand and swung out a burst of spiritual power, blocking the woman's arm that was blocking Yan Xiangluo. The unprepared woman was staggered by Xian's attack and suddenly became angry. "You dare to attack me?" Xian laughed angrily. "I'm just reminding you not to block my girl's way. Yan Xiangluo is not married to Jija Kong, so now she cannot be called madam or mistress, and can only be called girl." To bully their future mistress under his nose was such a sign of contempt for him. Besides, if he still lets Yan Xiangluo be bullied, how will he explain to his master when he goes back? The woman was stunned and looked at Xian. Xian also liked to wear red robes, and the materials of the clothes were extremely luxurious. They even looked better than those worn by Ruan Xiangluo. She never expected that Xian was actually Ruan Xiangluo's entourage. Seeing that they were all wearing red clothes, I thought they were brother and sister. Mainly because Yan Xiangluo and Xian did not treat them as Jizhou Hong's subordinates when they got along with each other, but rather treated them like friends. After sizing them up, the woman pointed arrogantly at the clouds in Yan Xiangluo's arms. "I want the spiritual pet in her arms. Please give me a price." "Not for sale," Xian refused without even needing an answer from Yan Xiangluo. "What a joke. I want to buy my girl's spiritual pet. How tall is she? Does she have the qualifications?" When Yun Tuan, who was acting coquettishly in Yan Xiangluo's arms, heard that someone actually wanted to buy it, he immediately raised his head and looked at the woman. His dark eyes rolled his eyes at the woman in a very humane way. It was obvious that he didn't like you. Despise you. When the woman saw Yun Tuan looking up at her, she also looked at Yun Tuan. When she saw Yun Tuan rolling his eyes in disgust at her, she suddenly became even more angry. "I'm not negotiating with you, I want it." Xian laughed angrily. Even the city of Yaoguang cannot let go of the girl's face. The people watching around him burst out laughing when they heard Xian's words. This man is really interesting, and he doesn't even use curse words when he curses. The girl naturally understood the meaning of his words and said that her face was so big that even Yaoguang city could not fit inside. Since she was a child, no one has dared to speak to her like this. That person is not cautious. Today, he was humiliated by Xian again and again. How could she swallow this breath? She pointed at Xian and said, "Do you know who my father is? If you offend me, you have to worry about whether you can get out of Yaoguang city alive." Yan Xiangluo, who had been silent all this time, thought of a story from another life because of her words. This was another person who relied on his father to get by. "Hey, I'm so scared. Who is your father? Let us find out." Xian and the others would not take the initiative to cause trouble when they were in unfamiliar places, but they were never afraid of trouble when they encountered it. "My father is the city lord of Yaoguang city," the woman said with her chin raised. her tone as proud as if she was the city lord of Yaoguang City. Mu Zixian's eyes narrowed. This woman was actually the daughter of the lord of Yaoguang City. The news he inquired about included the daughter of the lord of Yaoguang City. The lord of Yaoguang City, Bai Wuqian, had this child, and he was the lord of Yaoguang City when his daughter was born, named Xianxia. This shows how precious this daughter is. Therefore, he used his daughter to be very arrogant and domineering. Mu Zixian also reminded his brothers to avoid Bai Jiao and try not to cause trouble. Unexpectedly, he provoked this female overlord. This doesn't blame him. He has never seen Bai Jiao, and he didn't expect that she would be the woman who bullied others on the first day. No wonder Bai Jiao is so arrogant. Her father is the lord of Yaoguang City. Who dares to offend her father in Yaoguang City? However, Mu Zixian is not a person who is afraid of trouble and has never regretted it. I'm a little confused about what the lord of Yaoguang City, Bai Wuqian, thinks. You, the lord of Yaoguang City, are the lord of a city, not the lord of a continent. You're not even the best in the world. Are you sure you like it or dislike it if you spoil your children like this? There are many strong people coming to Yaoguang City for the continental competition. The contestants are all geniuses from various families and forces. Naturally, they will not be allowed to do it on their own. Each family and force has strong men protecting them openly and covertly. Bai Wuqian allows his daughter to be so arrogant and domineering. Isn't he worried that she will offend someone he can't afford to offend? Mu Zixian thought that he should check the information about Bai Wuqian, the lord of Yaoguang City later. Seeing that Mu Zixian didn't speak, Bai Jiao thought he was scared. She pointed at Yun Tuan proudly and said, "Now that you are giving it to me as an apology, I won't care about your offense just now." Mu Zixian sneered, "Yaoguang Cheng really has a troublemaking daughter like you who has been unlucky for several lifetimes." End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 524. Chapter 524. Who is more ruthless? Yu Xianglou had been listening to the exchange of words between the two, and she didn't pay much attention at first. She could just leave such a matter to Mu Zixian, but when she knew Bai Jiao's identity, she frowned. They are now on their father's territory. Jija Kong, Mu Zixian, and the others still have to participate in the continental competition. Although the lord of Yaoguang City is not a judge, this is their territory and it is easy to do something. Now offending the daughter of the city lord of Yaoguang City is equivalent to offending the city lord of Yaoguang City. What should we do to prevent this incident from affecting Jija Hong's game? At this moment, Bai Jiao was furious because of Mu Zixian's words. She had never been so angry in her life. Originally, she wanted to get the spiritual pet she liked, and then let someone teach them a lesson, so that the face of the woman in the red dress would be ruined beyond recovery. She was so angry now that she didn't want to go to all the trouble. She reached out to grab the clouds in Yan Xiangluo's arms. At the same time, she ordered the people following her, catch them and put them in prison. Thinking about going back and taking care of them slowly. Yan Xiangluo narrowed her eyes. It seemed that it was impossible to resolve this matter peacefully, so let's compare who is more ruthless. Yun Tuan, scratch her face. Yan Xiangluo touched Yu Tuan's little paw and gave Yu Tuan an order. Moreover, Yan Xiangluo did not communicate with her spiritual consciousness, but said it blatantly. Yun Tuan didn't want to endure it for a long time. After receiving the order from his master, he followed the hand that the daughter of the lord of Yaoguang City stretched out to grab him. He scratched one side of her face with his small paws, and then returned to Yan Xiangluo's arms. This all happened in an instant. Almost as soon as Yan Xiangluo finished speaking, Yun Tuan finished the matter. Even the onlookers didn't react when they saw Bai Jiao let out a miserable scream before she even took back her outstretched hand. His guards and maids were preparing to arrest Mu Zixian and Yu Xiangluo. When they heard the screams from their young lady, they immediately turned around and saw Bai Jiao gesturing with her hands in front of her face but not daring to touch them. They also saw their young lady's face, with blood and flesh flying everywhere, and it was too horrible to look at. There were also dots of blood on her snow-white dress. The right side of her face even got scratched under her eye, almost hitting her eyeball. This was the result of Yun Tuan's tolerance. If the owner hadn't ordered her to just scratch her face, it would have definitely dug out her eyeball. The guards and maids immediately panicked. The young lady had done this and failed to protect her master. Their fate would not be as simple as death. One of them immediately shouted, "Catch them and bring them back to the city lord to deal with them." Xian was ready to call the hidden guards to come out to fight. Even Chi Hao felt that a fight was about to start and clenched his fists. Even if he was not strong enough to bully his master, he couldn't watch. But Yan Xiangluo was not worried at all. She rubbed the clouds and spoke indifferently, "Only I can heal her face." "Are you sure you want to embarrass us?" All the guards and maids were stunned, not knowing whether to believe her or not. After all, they have never seen anyone's face hurt so badly. What if it is true? Yan Xiangluo continued, "I have a very bad habit. I will never treat people who I don't like and people who don't like me." The guards looked at Yan Xiangluo's dress and suddenly remembered the miracle doctor who had appeared in the past month or two. Wasn't she a teenage girl who liked to wear red dresses? Could it be that the person his young lady offended was actually the popular miracle doctor Yu Xiangluo? One of them was smart and asked immediately, "Are you the miracle doctor?" Yan Xiangluo glanced at him and did not answer his question. She said to Xian, "Tell him our address. He will need it later." Xian frowned. He didn't agree with Yu Xiang at first. Luo told the other party their address, but he also knew that his father was the lord of Yaoguang City. It would only take a while to find out where they lived. The result would be the same whether he told him or not. After thinking about it, he happily told them their address. Yan Xiangluo put Yun Tuan on her shoulder and glanced at Bai Jiao, who was still yelling, as if she didn't care about offending her at all, "I'm waiting for the lord of Yaoguang City to come." After saying this, he pulled Chi Hao forward and continued walking. Xian immediately followed. The guards and maids didn't know what to do. Bai Jiao kept screaming in pain and worried about being disfigured, but she still cared about her. The fragrance falls on them. The crowd gathered around to watch. The excitement will not look for trouble and will automatically make way for them. Everyone looked at Yan Xiangluo curiously, wondering if she was the miracle doctor Yan Xiangluo. If it was true, their eyes would be opened, they would actually see a miracle doctor, and some of them would be blown away when they go back. Those guards and maids did not dare to stop Yan Xiangluo. Although Yan Xiangluo did not admit that she was the miracle doctor, what if she was? They had also heard rumors about the temperament of miracle Dr. Yu. He was indeed very willful. Even the lord of the southern continent would come to seek medical treatment in person. If he really offended someone to death, their young lady's face would really be ruined. However, these guards were not stupid, and immediately asked the two of them to follow them to make sure they really lived in the place they said they were. The others took the screaming Bai Jiao back to the city lord's mansion to report. Xian noticed the two people following him and asked, "Miss Yu, do you want to deal with those two people?" Although the cultivation of these guards is not low, they are not vegetarians, and they are not strong enough to use Xuanhuan. Their master is a very powerful Xuanhuan master. The most important thing they lack is Xuanhuan, and they have all kinds of Xuanhuan. Yan Xiangluo said calmly, "No, let them follow. I'm not here to participate in the continental competition. I can't come here in vain. I can earn some spiritual stones and go back." After hearing her words, Xian immediately understood. "I am afraid that Yu Xiangluo not only let the clouds scratch the face of the daughter of the lord of Yaoguang City, but also did something else, so she dared to be so confident." After all, just scratching the face and taking a beauty pill can cure it. Xian is now a little curious about what Yuan Xianglou did to the face of the daughter of the Lord of Yaoguang City. Poison. What poison was given? I admire Xianglou very much in my heart. This is a lesson for her daughter to make a fortune from her father. In such a comparison, Bai Jiao's arrogance is not considered arrogant, but Yan Xiangluo's is real arrogance, low-key arrogance. Yan Xiangluo didn't seem to be affected by this incident, her steps were still slow and steady, and she looked around as she walked. She came to the entrance of the alley that Xian pointed to and turned in. At this time, they were upstairs in a restaurant. Lu Yu stood at the window and looked at the woman in red dress who was always calm downstairs, his eyes narrowed. End of this chapter. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 525. She didn't expect to see Yan Xiangluo here. It had been several months since she first saw her, and she attracted her attention even more than before. No, it's to attract everyone's attention. Thinking of her current status, Lu Yu suppressed the urge to rush down and grab someone, and watched Yan Xiangluo go away. He has to think of a safe way to get people back. There was a woman standing next to Lu Yu, it was Qin Suiyu. She looked at Yu Xiangluo with a sinister light flashing in her eyes. How come she is so lucky that she can live such a high-level life, but she has to live in such disgrace by dealing with all kinds of men? Yu Xiangluo, I won't let you go. She glanced at Lu Yu and lowered her eyes to cover the look in her eyes, preventing Lu Yu from noticing her thoughts. Behind Yan Xiangluo and the others, in addition to the two following guards, there were also many curious people following behind. They wanted to know if she was a miracle doctor, and they were hoping for a chance. If she was, they would know that the miracle doctor lived there. Where is it? Therefore, after Yan Xiangluo turned into the alley, there were still many people following her at a distance. Xian felt calm at this time. Things were already like this and he couldn't change anything. Let's see how Yan Xiangluo solved this matter. He led the way, and the three of them returned to the gate of the courtyard they rented. Xian knocked on the door, and it was immediately opened. After the three of them entered, the door was closed again. The two guards who were following him left one behind to continue watching, while the other hurried back to report. The spectators did not leave, they just watched from a distance. They knew very well that the people in the courtyard had offended the Lord of Yaoguang City. Even if the face of the Lord of Yaoguang City's daughter was healed by the alchemist doctor in the Lord's mansion, she would not be able to swallow this breath and would still come to take revenge. I'm curious, how will things resolve? If this woman is really a miracle doctor, does the Lord of Yaoguang City dare to offend her? Yan Xiangluo went into the yard and saw Ji Zhozhong hurriedly walking out from inside. Seeing Yan Xiangluo, she was relieved. He looked her over and said, I'm about to pick you up. Yan Xiangluo walked up to him and spread out her hands, there has been trouble as soon as we arrived. The Lord of Yaoguang City will be here soon. The place where Ji Zhozhong went to confirm the registration information was a bit far away. It was at the city lord's mansion, and he once asked Xian to pick up Yu Xiangluo. No, I hurried back as soon as I was sure. I guessed that they should be back as well. Unexpectedly, as soon as I returned to the house, a hidden guard came to report that Luoluo was being troubled by someone. Bai Jiaoqiao, the daughter of the Lord of Yaoguang City, wanted to steal her spiritual pet, but she directly ordered her pet Cloud to scratch Bai Jiao's face. He immediately couldn't sit still, worried that she was being bullied. After all, the precious daughter of the Lord of Yaoguang City, the bodyguard's cultivation level was no longer low, so he immediately turned around to pick her up. Hunter Xiangluo came back before she even left the house. As long as you don't get bullied, Ji Zhozhong said. When something happens, find a way to solve it, as long as she is fine. Yan Xiangluo smiled and said, It'll be okay. Xian behind him didn't say a word. He was actually a little worried about his master's competition. As long as their cultivation strength could enter the top 100, his master was different. He wanted to take first place. Worried that BeautifulFemaleLead would secretly make a stumbling block and do evil things. Well, I'm here. Xuanhuan walked inside with her. Xianxia said, I can solve it. Just prepare for the competition with peace of mind. Since you have decided not to rely on him, you will naturally have to solve the trouble you caused yourself. Besides, it is not something that cannot be solved. Xuanhuan paused when he heard this. He didn't like this feeling. However, thinking of their previous conversation, he also knew that Xianxia didn't distrust him, but wanted to solve the problem with his own strength. This is fine. If she can solve it by herself, he will not interfere. If not, he can help her, so that she will not blame him for interfering in her matter. Who wants the woman he likes to be anything but an ordinary person? He can only pamper her. Go directly to the main hall in the front yard. I guess BeautifulFemaleLead will be here soon, Xuanhuan said. When his daughter's face was injured like that, BeautifulFemaleLead must have immediately asked the alchemists and doctors in the mansion to treat her. If they couldn't cure her, he would believe that the person his daughter offended was the miracle doctor Xianxia, and he would immediately find a way to cure her. Luo healed his daughter's face. I just don't know how Luo will handle this matter. His Luo is still a pure girl in this life. This is a good opportunity to train her. Let's see what she will do. The two came to the main hall. Changfeng, Jin Yutang, and Xian were standing aside. Kong asked someone to serve tea. Xianxia twitched her mouth when she saw that the people serving tea were all hidden guards. She thought that when Xuanhuan was in the Tianshan Empire, all the people in the house were men, so she didn't feel strange. Drinking tea calmly. Xuanhuan glanced at the cloud on her shoulder, and the cloud immediately buried his head in his paws. After all, it was the cause of this incident. Although it doesn't feel like it's wrong, it still feels a little guilty because it made it look so cute. Xuanhuan glanced at the clouds briefly and then looked away. Luo didn't notice the change in the clouds, but he noticed it when he came out of the space. Although the size of the cloud remains the same, the aura on it has changed a lot. This is also the main reason why it attracted Baijiao's attention. It has a very noble aura about it, just like a person of high birth, you can tell it at a glance. The nobility cultivated since childhood cannot be concealed. As for the clouds now, this noble aura is probably the aura belonging to the divine beast, but it has not yet fully recovered the strength of the divine beast, so this aura is not so obvious yet. But people with high cultivation level can easily sense it. Although he wanted to remind Luo that Xuanhuan had better stay in the space, but in this case, although he could avoid getting into trouble because of it, if Luo encountered the danger of being isolated from space again, Xuanhuan would not be able to help her. Busy. After weighing it, he just glanced at the clouds and then withdrew his gaze. It was better to stay outside. He doesn't know yet that Xuanhuan and Zetian have already made an agreement, and each of them will protect Xianxia outside. Although Xianxia was concerned about the demonic energy in her master's body, it was not so safe here now. Who knew if there were other people's eyes in the dark, so she refrained from mentioning it until Baijiao's matter was dealt with. Xianxia asked about the rules of their game, and the two chatted for a while. Until the guard guarding the gate reported the arrival of Yaoguang City Lord BeautifulFemaleLead. Xuanhuan glanced at Xianxia and told her to make a decision. Xianxia said, "Please come in, Master Bai. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 526. Xian immediately followed the guards and went out to invite people. After all, he is the lord of a city. If the two masters don't go to pick them up in person, it will be unreasonable for him not to go. He still has this bit of foresight. He can do it well without Zhizhong's orders, otherwise he will not be the most capable person around Zhizhong. One of the assistants. Even so, when Bai Wuqian saw that the person who came to pick him up was not Yan Xiangluo himself, he was still in a bad mood. However, he was quite sure that the person his daughter had offended was indeed the miracle doctor Yu Xiangluo. This made him a little frustrated. No matter what he did, he was still the city lord of Yaoguang City. Before he came, he had checked the information of the people living here. The person who rented the yard was Zhizhong, the fiancé of the miracle doctor Xiangluo. Participating in the continental competition. Yuan Xiangluo is not afraid at all that he will do something to Zhizhong and affect his performance in the continental competition. After all, this is her own territory, and the Lord of the Northern Continent will also come. She is a member of the Lord of the Northern Continent. Does she really think that a doctor with a reputation as a miracle doctor can be so arrogant that even the Lord of the Continent is not afraid? Thinking that the Lord of the Southern Continent would come to seek medical treatment, Bai Wuqian felt that it was the Lord of the Southern Continent who was accustomed to Ruan Xiangluo. A teenage girl, no matter how powerful her medical skills are, her cultivation level is not very high. As the Lord of the Continent, how can she be so humble? If you don't take this opportunity to hold people in your hands, you will develop their temper. If you miss this opportunity, it will be impossible to control Yan Xiangluo when she becomes stronger. But when he thought that he now came to seek medical treatment for the sake of his daughter's face, he understood why the Lord of the Southern Continent had condescended to him. I'm afraid I'm also feeling aggrieved. But he really didn't want to be disrespectful. What happened to his daughter happened on the street. Now I'm afraid everyone who came to participate in the continental competition knows about it. If he was caught by Yan Xiangluo like this, he would be embarrassed throughout the entire higher continent. Thinking to herself, Yan Xiangluo is more sensible. After all, Zhizhong wants to participate in the competition well, so it is not wise to offend him. He felt that there was no way Yan Xiangluo could restrain his arrogance. He came with such complicated thoughts. But unexpectedly, Yan Xiangluo didn't give him any face at all. Bai Wuqian didn't know that Xian came on his own and was not ordered by Yan Xiangluo at all. After all, it was Xian who welcomed the Lord of the Southern Continent to seek medical treatment and was waiting for her in the main hall. Now she has gone to the main hall to wait first, which is already giving him face. Bai Wuqian knew that this house belonged to a wealthy family in Yaoguang City. Because the focus of his business had changed, the house here was in a good location and he was reluctant to sell it, so he kept renting it out. Those who can afford to rent such a big house are naturally not short of money. After all, he has never heard that the high-level alchemist is short of money. What's more, Yan Xiangluo is a miracle doctor. The miracle doctor will not be short of crystal coins, but also crystal stones, spiritual stones, and treasures. The more he thought about Bai Wuqian, the more panicked he felt. In comparison, his daughter was spoiled by him a little too much. Concubine Xiangluo is several years younger than her own daughter. With his thoughts flying, he came to the main hall. Bai Wuqian looked in through the door and saw the two people sitting inside. The woman in the bright red dress must be Ruan Xiangluo. The man in red robe who picked her up was the one who followed Ruan Xiangluo to bully her daughter. Sitting next to Ruan Xiangluo, he was wearing a snow-white brocade robe embroidered with silver dark patterns. The man should be Zhizhong, the fiancé of the miracle doctor Yan Xiangluo. The surname is Ji. If he hadn't come from a lower-class continent, he would have thought that Zhizhong was a descendant of the Ji family. After all, this kind of tolerance is not something that ordinary families can cultivate. Zhizhong was originally born in the royal family in this life, and served as regent for several years. In addition, he recovered some memories of his previous life, and his temperament changed a lot. Before, there was nobility in the bones, coupled with the domineering aura of a superior. Now these auras are mixed with some inexplicable evil auras. Even after Bai Wuqian and Ji Zhong looked at each other, their hearts trembled. In the past, he just heard about how talented and outstanding the two of them were, but he didn't take it seriously. He thought that the rumors had already spread, and even a beauty pill could make the appearance more beautiful. Therefore, among the monks, the most indispensable thing was handsome men and beautiful women. However, after seeing the two of them with his own eyes today, Bai Wuqian realized that the rumors were not at all true and did not even describe half of their true appearance. At this time, he realized that the beauty of the city is a kind of state of appearance, and the creation of heaven and earth is a kind of state of lovers. These two words are vividly expressed by Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhong. At this moment, Bai Wuqian suddenly understood that his daughter was probably jealous that Yuan Xiangluo was so good looking. He sighed secretly in his heart. His daughter's appearance was good in itself. After all, her mother was very beautiful, and his appearance was also excellent. But it was incomparable to others. With his daughter's usual arrogant temper, he could imagine the scene at that time. Just to mess up my daughter's face, I'm afraid the miraculous doctor would have been merciful. This is still the result of Ji Zhong's absence at the time. If this man had been there, it was not certain whether his daughter would be able to go back alive. Although he understood in his heart, when he thought of his daughter's miserable face, he still felt heartbroken. He wished he could make Yan Xiangluo's face look like that to relieve his hatred. But now he can't show his hatred. The doctors and alchemists in the mansion can't cure his daughter's face. If Yan Xiangluo doesn't heal her daughter's face will be really ruined. Let alone a girl, even a man wouldn't be able to accept that look on his face. City Lord Bai, please come in. Xian made an invitation gesture and urged Bai Wuqian, who was stunned at the door, to go in. Bai Wuqian was angry when he came out of home and was entangled after entering this house. Now he has completely calmed down when he saw Yan Xiangluo himself. Both Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhong are not simple people, otherwise they would not be able to go from the Dusui continent to the southern continent and reach such a high level of cultivation in a short period of time. Although Ji Zhong's cultivation level is already at the 8th level of the holy level, Bai Wuqian's cultivation level has been at the peak of the 9th level of the holy level decades ago. Unfortunately, he is not talented enough and has never broken through to the divine level. But it is still very easy to see through Ji Zhong's cultivation. His heart was beating faster and faster. Even Yan Xiangluo is at the 5th level of emperor level cultivation. Both of them are people with great luck. Otherwise, how could they have broken through to such a cultivation level within a few months? The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 527. Bai Wuqian has never seen anyone advance so quickly in his life. It took him decades to reach this level of cultivation, and then he stayed there for decades without making any progress. Breaking through to the level was just a luxury for him. It's not that the spiritual treasures are not enough, it's that the talent is not enough. Compared with this, why is he still arrogant in front of others? It is very likely that Ji Zhong will be on the same level as him after participating in the Continental Hegemony tournament. The imbalance in my heart disappeared instantly. He was thinking about how he could make Yan Xiangluo forgive his daughter and heal her face. After Bai Wuqian walked in, Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhong stood up. Ji Zhong said, "City Lord Bai, please sit down." After Ji Zhong finished speaking, he and Yan Xiangluo walked to the chair opposite Bai Wuqian and sat down. Bai Wuqian felt better. Although he was not invited to take the seat, at least he was not allowed to sit down. Xian personally brought tea in. Bai Wuqian smelled the fragrance of the tea and his eyes narrowed. The spiritual energy of this tea was stronger than the tea he drank. Did these two people really just come from the lower continent for a few months? Does the lower continent have tea with such strong aura? Originally, he wanted to go straight to the topic, but when he smelled the aroma of tea, he couldn't help but pick it up and take a sip. He couldn't stop drinking and drank all the tea. Xian immediately poured him another tea. Xuanhuan was a little embarrassed. What was he doing here? His daughter was still suffering at home. I actually coveted someone else's tea and drank it all in one go. It was so rude. Xuanhuan made a decision in his heart. No matter what, he would heal his daughter's face first. As for whether he would go against Xianxia in the future, that would have to be decided after his daughter's face was healed. Although he is afraid of their talents, they have not grown up yet. Let alone the entire continent, even Yaoguang City has countless geniuses who have died in these years. He is not afraid of their cultivation strength, but he is afraid of Yu Xiongluo's ability. Medicine and poison do not separate families. Although he asked, his daughter's face was scratched by Yan Xiongluo's spiritual pet, but Yan Xiongluo did not put away her spiritual pet, and it was lying on her shoulder. It doesn't look as big as his palm, so it's unlikely to be poisonous. He is more likely to be poisoned by Ruan Xiongluo. However, the doctors and alchemists in the house said that his daughter was not poisoned, which puzzled him and was the reason why he really surrendered. After all, the doctors and alchemists in the house tried their best to make my daughter's face look better. He couldn't even stop the bleeding or relieve pain. Miracle Dr. Yu, my little girl is naughty and has made Dr. Miracle unhappy. What Dr. Miracle Yu taught me is that I, as a father, am also responsible for failing to educate my little girl well. Please forgive me, Dr. Miracle, for not remembering the villain's fault and spare her this time. Xuanhuan glanced at Yun Tuan lying on Yan Xiongluo's shoulder and expressed a sincere admission of his mistake. Let the person be coaxed first and the daughter's face be cured. Yan Xiongluo grew up in a scheming family in another life. Although Xuanhuan's tone and expression were spot on, the sincerity in his eyes was not there. Yan Xiongluo picked up the teacup and took a sip of tea, but did not answer his words. Xuanhuan knew that he was dissatisfied. He immediately added, I came in a hurry today because I was worried about my little girl's injury. I will send an apology later. Can you please ask the miracle doctor to treat my little girl first? Although this is a sign of submission, it is too big to say that the apology will be sent later. It is up to Xuanhuan to decide how much the apology is. Yan Xiongluo was still speechless, and drank the tea in small sips without any rush. Xuanhuan was a little confused about her thoughts, but being in a stalemate like this was no solution. She had already given in and expressed her intention to send an apology. What else did she want? The atmosphere was a little awkward, but Xuanhuan had no intention of compromising. After Yan Xiongluo finished the cup of tea, she put down the cup and finally spoke. City Lord Bai did not teach his daughter well, but now that City Lord Bai has realized his mistake, he will definitely teach his daughter well in the future. This will also prevent someone from helping you teach your daughter in the future, and it will not be a matter of losing face. What Yuan Xiongluo said was very heart-wrenching. Xuanhuan's face turned red and black. He could belittle himself, but Yuan Xiongluo actually dared to belittle him, but he couldn't say anything yet. He couldn't help but feel choked in his heart. Can't get down. Yan Xiongluo added, it's pitiful that City Master Bai has such a loving father's heart, but he has humbled himself for the sake of his daughter. It's unjustifiable not to forgive. Xuanhuan twitched the corner of his mouth, and cursed in his heart, do I still need to thank you for taking pity on me for speaking so openly about my humiliation? But hearing that she finally relented, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She would have to find a way to get back the face she lost today. Thank you so much, Dr. Yu. Xuanhuan was really able to bend and stretch, and he felt a little proud that the matter was solved like this. Xian, who was guarding the door, was stunned. Did Miss Yu forgive Bai Xiao like this? Chi Hao, who was standing next to him, was also a little dissatisfied. That woman was so hateful, how could he just forgive her like this? The two of them looked at Yan Xiongluo inside, but it was a pity that Yan Xiongluo couldn't see their expressions from where they stood. However, Bai Wuqian was happy too early. How could Yan Xiongluo be so easy to fight? As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Xiongluo glanced at him with her beautiful almond eyes. Thank you, no need. After all, City Master Bai has prepared an apology. No one wants to be in trouble with the baby, right? Bai Wuqian's eyes suddenly froze. He didn't expect Yan Xiongluo to be so cunning. With this sentence, he decided to apologize. It must be a treasure. The lion opened his mouth. Have you been blackmailed? But at this time he could only say, that's natural. A smile flashed across Jizhou Hong's phoenix eyes. Has Luoluo learned to be cunning, or is she already so clever but never had the chance to use it? Glancing at Bai Wuqian, you were relieved too early. Now that Luoluo has taken action, it won't just end like this. Music Xian's brows twitched. Let's just say that Miss Yu was not the one to suffer. He broke into a cold sweat for Bai Wuqian. He had a premonition that Yu Xiongluo would not end like this. Chi Hao felt better. Fortunately, the master wanted the treasure, so it was not a big loss. At this moment, Yan Xiongluo continued, City Lord Bai is the lord of Yaoguang City. You should know that the people who come here at this time are either competing or watching the competition. My fiancé is here to compete, and I am here to watch the competition. I don't have time to treat your daughter these days, but I can refine a pill to stop bleeding and relieve pain, and then treat your daughter after the competition is over. Bai Wuqian was stunned. What does this mean? Your fiancé is participating in the competition but you are not participating. How come you, the only person watching the competition, don't have time? The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 528. It only took Bai Wuqian an instant to understand that Yan Xiongluo was worried that she would interfere with her fiancé Jizhou Hong's competition, stumbling upon Jizhou Hong's performance, and even his life, so he decided to cure his daughter after the competition. This meaning is also very obvious. Whether your daughter can be cured depends on whether her fiancé goes well in the competition these days. If you have done something, don't let her take action to heal your daughter's face. This move is obvious to others, so he has to take it even if he doesn't want to. Bai Wuqian didn't want his daughter to suffer for a few more days. Although the competition only lasted for 3 days, there were still 3 more days before the competition would start. This was a total of 6 days. When he thought that his daughter would have to bear a face that was scarier than a ghost for 6 days, he decided, I feel so distressed. He was wondering if it would work if he made the oath, but seeing the calm look on his face, he understood that even if he made the oath, he would not believe it, let alone agree. There is nothing like having the initiative in his hands. The peace of mind that comes from your own hands. I am also such a person. After all, if you don't take action, you can let others take action, but as long as your daughter's face is pressed here, you don't dare to risk taking action, nor do you dare to instruct others to take action. Bai Wuqian knew that this was the only way to go. From the beginning of this incident, he was on the passive side. But the competition itself is not absolutely fair. No matter how strict the rules are, there are still loopholes that can be exploited. Just because he doesn't take action doesn't mean that Jizhou Hong's competition will go smoothly. He won't take the blame for others. I understand what Divine Doctor Yu means, but Divine Doctor Yu also knows that there are many accidents on the field. People die on the field every time in the Continental Championship. I can only guarantee that I will not interfere with your people's competition, nor will I instigate others interfere, but if you offend other people, or their opponents are more clever, I can't control it. I can't let others take the blame. Bai Wuqian no longer had the humility just now. It was already like this. There was no point in being so low-key, so he simply spoke out. Ruan Xianglou smiled, and her peerless face suddenly became even more beautiful. It's enough if City Master Bai can do this. We didn't want anyone to protect us originally. We came here just to compete with our true abilities. We still can't stand the unscrupulous methods. She didn't place her hope on Bai Wuqian to abide by the agreement at all. Now she believes in herself more. She feels at ease when she has the initiative in her own hands, doesn't she? Bai Wuqian's expression was not very good. Doesn't this mean that Xiao is an unfashionable person? Fortunately, Yuan Xianglou was not overbearing or unreasonable. Yang Xiang's eyebrows were smiling, and she was obviously very happy now. Music Xian glanced at Bai Wuqian with pity. City Lord Bai, you relaxed too early. I'm sure the look in Miss Yu's eyes indicated that there was something more to come. Sure enough, Yan Xianglou continued, it takes time to refine the elixir. City Lord Bai can just ask the person who sent the apology to pick it up later. As for the cost of treatment, just compare it to the consultation fee paid by the Lord of the Southern Continent. The game is over. I promise to cure the disease after receiving the consultation fee. After all, the title of Miracle Doctor was not given to me for free, it was earned by my own ability. This is the first time that Bai Wuqian has been calling her the miraculous Dr. Yuan Xianglou since they met. She admits that she is the miraculous Dr. Yuan Xianglou. Although Yan Xianglou's identity was confirmed, it was not surprising. After all, he had already confirmed Yan Xianglou's identity through information, otherwise he would not have come in person. Besides, he called her the miracle doctor. Although she didn't agree, she didn't refuse either. This also proved in disguise that she was the miracle doctor. What surprised Bai Wuqian was that Yan Xianglou was so thoughtful and didn't suffer any losses. He thought he would be done with it after someone sent him an apology, but he still had the medical fee? Not only some, but a lot. Can the Lord of the Southern Continent pay less for the consultation? Although Yan Xianglou bypassed her daughter, she still wanted to let herself know that she never suffered a loss. Since she was protecting her daughter, she should use money to make her comfortable. Bai Wuqian felt that the breath in his heart was getting bigger and bigger, and he was about to burst with anger. If the information he received was correct, Yan Xianglou was only 16 years old. How could he be so cunning and cunning? She asked herself to take the elixir to stop bleeding and relieve pain when she sent the apology. This was obviously a warning to herself not to fool her about the apology. If she was dissatisfied, I don't know when the elixir to stop bleeding and relieve pain would be refined. Not only that, after taking out the apology, she still has to pay a medical fee, which is similar to the medical fee of the Lord of the Southern Continent. She has such a big appetite, isn't she worried about being choked to death? This step was not missed, which made Bai Wuqian extremely frustrated, but he still had to endure it. There is no other way. The initiative is now in his hands. Unless he doesn't want his daughter's face to get better, he can only compromise. The repeated compromises today made Bai Wuqian feel very uncomfortable, but he could only hold it in. He had never felt so aggrieved in his life. Bai Wuqian felt that he would never forget this day in his life. Don't worry, Divine Doctor, I, Bai Wuqian, am not one to break my promise naturally. I will satisfy Divine Doctor. The apology. Bai Wuqian said it directly. He wanted to apologize anyway, so why didn't he say it out? He didn't want to choke to death. Yan Xianglou raised her brows and spoke in a very soft tone, don't feel aggrieved, City Master Bai. It's your fault for failing to raise a godfather. This is the consequence you should bear for not raising your daughter well. City Master Bai should be happy. I only want wealth, and it's your fault you can't afford to offend me. What do you think City Master Bai will be like today? Do you still have a chance to seek medical treatment for your daughter? Bai Wuqian was shocked and looked at Yan Xiangluo, who said the toughest words in a soft tone. Her words completely awakened him. Yan Xiangluo's words are very straightforward. Don't you just look down on me and that's why you feel so aggrieved? If it were someone else you couldn't afford to offend, would you still feel aggrieved? I'm afraid I don't even have a chance to feel aggrieved. It is true that he did not take her seriously because Yan Xiangluo was from a lower continent. Although she was known as a miracle doctor, there was no strong force behind her to support and protect her. What if the person my daughter offends today is someone she can't afford to offend? Is Xiao still alive to return to the house? Do I still have a chance to seek medical treatment for Xiao? Do you still find it difficult to feel aggrieved by what you have experienced today? What Yan Xiangluo said was right. He should be glad that Yan Xiangluo only wanted money. Otherwise, he might have to collect his daughter's body today, and he might be in trouble because of it. Bai Wuqian sighed, Miracle Doctor Yu is not very old, but he is a very wise man. I have lived for almost 100 years, but I am not as clear as a teenage girl like Dr. Yu, who can understand and see clearly today. I'm sorry for that, but I'm also grateful to you, the miracle doctor, for not arguing with my daughter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 529. Bai Wuqian's words came from the heart. He was worried and angry before about his daughter's injury and lost his usual calmness and rationality. Now, after listening to Yan Xiangluo's words, he calmed down, and after thinking about it carefully, he naturally understood that he was wrong. Outrageous. The bottomless pampering of my daughter for so many years is not loving her, but harming her. I don't know if it's too late to start correcting it now. As long as she protects her, her daughter can live as happily as she wants. Now it seems that this idea is completely wrong. He can't stay by his daughter's side all the time. Even if he arranges for someone to protect her, accidents will happen. This is still on his territory. If his daughter leaves Yaoguang City, it will be even more uncontrollable. Moreover, his daughter will eventually get married. How can he follow his son-in-law's house to guard his daughter? In an instant, Bai Wuqian figured out what he should do. Yan Xiangluo stood up and said, "There's no need to thank you. I'm surprised that City Master Bai is so reasonable. I just want to apologize. The medical fee is a rule and cannot be changed. I'm going to make elixirs, so I won't accompany you more." After saying this, she walked out. Bai Wuqian was stunned by her actions. What kind of operation was this? Because you are reasonable and reasonable, you just didn't feel satisfied with the apology and refused to give the elixir, so you just wanted to do it? Why do you feel so comfortable all of a sudden? The miracle doctor just wanted to have an attitude of his own. He knew that his daughter had been raised to be arrogant and domineering. His previous attitude made the miracle doctor dissatisfied, so he wanted to make more money for himself. Now that he has a good attitude towards admitting his mistakes, she does not calculate. After all, people said that the medical fee is the rule, which means that whoever comes to see her for medical treatment will receive the medical fee, so she does not blackmail herself in terms of the medical fee. No, this apology must not be made casually, it must be chosen carefully. She is generous, but she cannot be compared to a little girl. Xian and Qihao outside the door were both stunned. Although Xian knew that Ruan Xiangluo would not spare Bai Wuqian lightly, he did not expect that she would have such ability to make people happily spend money and take a fancy to her. The way Bai Wu did it, they knew that this apology would not only be less than before, but also better. This trick is perfect. Qihao was young and didn't understand the twists and turns inside, so he was still a little confused. Ji Zhozhong was also surprised. After all, this was the first time he saw Xianxia fighting against his family and winning so beautifully. She figured out Bai Wuqian's thoughts accurately. Since when did this girl have such a scheming idea? It looks like she has been immersed in the spirit of a big family. But Luoluo has never lived in a big family. Ji Zhong saw the matter from beginning to end, and naturally understood Yan Xiangluo's trick. He had used this trick before, so he had recovered many people. In the beginning, Bai Wuqian was full of anger, so he must have a bad attitude and wanted to control everything. But Luoluo dealt with him neither softly nor hard. Later, Luoluo asked his daughter to be treated after the Continental Hegemony tournament. She told him clearly not to try anything during his competition. She only wanted to protect him and participate in the competition smoothly. Bai Wuqian had no choice but to compromise. At this time, Bai Wuqian understood that it was useless to be angry. Who made him care more about his daughter's face? At this time, he had calmed down and was very rational, but Luoluo took advantage of the victory and pursued it, reminding him that if he did not apologize, the elixir would not be refined well, and also told him that the medical fee would be higher than that of the Lord of the Southern Continent. At this time, the anger in Bai Wuqian's stomach reached its peak in an instant, but this time he was angry while calming down, so he could still control it. Not only was he able to control it, he gritted his teeth and agreed to Luoluo's conditions. At this moment, Luoluo bluntly said that he had not educated his daughter well and that he only wanted wealth. He vaguely reminded him that if other strong men who could not afford to offend wanted Bai Jiao's life, he would wake up with one sentence. Knowing Bai Wuqian, spoiling one's son is like killing one's son. At the same time, she was also telling him that she did not care about his daughter because she gave him face as the lord of Yaoguang City. After Bai Wuqian thought about it and sincerely apologized and thanked Luoluo, she changed the topic and said that she just wanted to apologize. This was a sweet date given to Bai Wuqian after she kept slapping Bai Wuqian in the face. This is to tell Bai Wuqian that I don't love money, but I want you to have an attitude. Immediately, without giving Bai Wuqian a chance to say anything, he left immediately thinking that he was going to make elixirs. Made Bai Wuqian feel that she really just wanted an explanation, and that justice would be given to her. She is a very easy to talk person. He can guarantee that Bai Wuqian's apology will not be less, let alone light. It will definitely be more and heavier than before. Even if Bai Wuqian wants to understand the twists and turns, he will no longer have any grudge against Luoluo. Luoluo used this move in a fair and just way, wanting the other party to give it to her willingly and giving up any grudge against her. He underestimated Luoluo. Ji Zhong suddenly felt happy when he thought that she had gone to such great lengths to ensure that his competition would not be ruined by Bai Wuqian. This is the first time he has felt this way. From the first meeting with Luoluo outside the royal training ground of Tianshun Kingdom, until now, she has saved him several times, and cured him of the fetal poison he brought from his mother's womb, so that he can finally realize what it is like to be healthy. In fact, he was grateful to her at that time. However, those were all based on transactions. Luoluo didn't like him at that time. Not only did she not like him, she also broke off the engagement with him as soon as they met. The relationship between the two of them is the result of his constant efforts. After he recovered part of his past life memories, the relationship between the two became so cold that it almost returned to before. No, it was not as good as before. After the two talked openly, although Luoluo said that she did not doubt his feelings for him and believed in him, he still felt the change in Luoluo, and she no longer relied on him. Although she also said that it was for the sake of becoming stronger, he was still very disappointed in his heart. Before, he was worried that she would be at a disadvantage due to her lack of experience in the outside world, but what Luoluo did today made him suddenly realize that the little girl was smart. She reminded him of Luoluo in his previous life, and she looked more and more like Luoluo. Although his mood was a bit complicated, He was still very happy today. He felt that there was nothing wrong with being protected by Luoluo, at least she cared about him. Her ability to protect herself shows that she is within a safe range. He doesn't want her to misunderstand him again before completely recovering her past life memories and understanding all their emotional experiences in their past lives. This is good. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 530. Xuanhuan glanced at Xianxia outside the door. After many years of tacit understanding, Xianxia immediately understood what he meant, and quickly led the way to Xianluo, taking her to the yard prepared for her. Qihao touched his head, glanced at Bai Wuqian and Ji Zhikong in the main hall, and trotted after his master. Since the future master is here, there is no need to worry about the master being bullied. Besides, although he didn't understand how things ended up like this, he could still see that the master had not suffered a loss. As long as his master doesn't suffer a loss, he won't think more than a child. At this time, Bai Wuqian also came to his senses. He stood up and said goodbye to Ji Zhikong. "Mr. Ji, I'm going to say goodbye now. I'll ask the housekeeper to come and send the apology later. The lord of the city cannot come again, otherwise the continental hegemony competition will not be as lively as the affairs of his city lord's palace. It would be most appropriate for the steward of the city lord's mansion to come to deliver the apology and obtain the elixir. After all, the steward's status in his mansion is second only to him in Yaoguang City." Bai Wuqian didn't say anything more. The couple looked young, but they were not ordinary people. Even though Ji Zhikong was sitting here without saying a word, that was under the premise that Yan Xianluo did not suffer any loss. He was able to become the lord of Yaoguang City, and he was not a simple-minded person. Yan Xianluo used an upright conspiracy. Although he saw through it, he was still convinced. A 16-year-old girl can have such resourcefulness and heart, and with the title of a miracle doctor, the possibility of her growing up is very high. Even without the weakness of his daughter, at this time, Bai Wuqian had given up the idea of going against Yan Xianluo and the others. He had previously thought of waiting for his daughter's face to recover before he said this, but now he has completely given up the idea. That's all. He won't cause any obstacles for the two of them, but he won't go out of his way to make friends. After all, they haven't grown up yet. He still understands the principle of being wise and protecting yourself. To put it nicely, he is the city lord of Yaoguang City, but to put it worse, he is just the lackey of the lord of the northern continent. He is not the only one who wants to be the leader of the northern continent. There are many people who want to be the leader of the northern continent. Hearing this, Ji Zhikong stood up and said, "I'll see Lord Bai off." Bai Wuqian didn't refuse. This was much more honorable than when he came in. At least it was sent out by the fiancé of the miracle doctor. The two of them walked towards the gate of the mansion. As they walked, Bai Wuqian looked at Ji Zhikong. Although he had information about Ji Zhikong in his hand, he only had a few words. The main reason was that he had never been in the limelight, and the limelight was lost to Yu Xiang, who was known as a miracle doctor. Suppressed. But when he saw Ji Zhikong himself today, Bai Wuqian could see that Ji Zhikong had a kind of nobility in his bones. This kind of nobility could not be found in the children of a certain big family, at least he did not appear in the children of the lord of the northern continent. See this nobility. Even though the lord of the northern continent has a strong cultivation base and the aura of a superior, he is not as noble as Ji Zhikong. Moreover, there was an aura about Ji Zhikong that he couldn't describe. Although it wasn't strong, he could feel it. He had never sensed this aura in anyone else before, and he couldn't help but have the thought of shrinking back. He was very confused, but because of this, he deduced that Ji Zhikong was the one who kept it secret. He was glad that Yan Xianluo took action to solve today's matter. If Ji Zhikong had taken action, the matter might not have been so simple. Ji Zhikong is by no means a soft-hearted person. As soon as the door of the mansion opened, Bai Wuqian's face turned dark immediately. It was dark outside and the people watching the excitement outside had not blocked the door of the mansion, but the entrance to the alley had been blocked tightly. Seeing him coming out, a large group of people immediately dispersed. They were people from the city and did not dare to mess with him, but there were still many people who stayed and watched with interest. Most of these people are here to watch the game, so they don't have to worry about offending themselves. City Lord Bai, walk slowly. Zhizhou Hong's tone was just right and the etiquette was in place. Bai Wuqian also said, Master Ji, please stay. This surprised the people watching outside, so kind. No fight. It's like City Master Bai came to a friend's house for a visit. Bai Wuqian was worried about such a scene, so he came in a carriage and got on the carriage. The carriage drove slowly towards the entrance of the alley. When passing by the entrance of the alley, Bai Wuqian heard the discussion outside. Isn't it said that City Lord Bai dotes on his daughter too much, so he dotes on his daughter to the point of being arrogant and domineering? How come his daughter was disfigured, so why didn't they start a fight? Bai Wuqian was not in the mood to listen to the next words. Only then did he realize how stupid he was in the eyes of the world, and he had spoiled his daughter into a fool. Bai Wuqian closed his eyes and felt again that his daughter's experience this time was not a bad thing, but a good thing. He hoped that he would wake up in time and be able to correct his daughter's temperament. After Bai Wuqian got on the carriage, Zhizhou Hong turned around and went back, directly to Yuan Xiangluo's yard. Qi Hao was taken by Xian to the courtyard where he, Chang Feng and Jin Yutang lived. Although he was young, he was 9 years old and could not live in the same courtyard as Yu Xiangluo. When Zhizhou Hong came in, Yan Xiangluo had just finished refining the elixir for stopping bleeding and relieving pain and put it into a medicine bottle. She glanced at Zhizhou Hong and said, give the elixir to Xian. Bai Wuqian's people can just give it to him directly when they come to get the elixir. Zhizhou Hong walked up to her and took the pill. Luo, aren't you afraid that Bai Wuqian is a cruel and treacherous person? Yan Xiangluo put away the stone nest and said in a calm tone, a man who can pamper his daughter like this, no matter how cruel he is on the surface, has a bottom line in his heart. The corners of his lips curled up as he spoke. Besides, even if the grudge against him cannot be resolved, it doesn't matter. As long as your competition is not affected, other things are not important. No one living in this world can be loved by everyone. It doesn't matter if you offend one more person. Zhizhou Hong smiled, Luo really impressed me. Yan Xiangluo shrugged and held the clouds on her shoulders in her palms. She was not careless, but because she was in poor health in another life, she developed the habit of not doing anything, which would save her a lot of troubles. But things are different now. I am in good health and have great talents. It is difficult not to arouse people's jealousy. Once a person is controlled by jealousy, he can do anything. Since she decided not to rely on anyone, she could only take care of herself. Zhizhou Hong sighed, Luo is like this, it makes me feel useless. Yan Xiangluo raised her eyes and looked at him, whether you are useful or not doesn't show on me. Just do what you want to do. Zhizhou Hong was speechless and immediately changed the subject. What did Luo do to Bai Xiao? What he wants to do most is to occupy her heart and make her think about him all the time. Can he do it?